Alright, so I want to talk to you guys about my favorite book. My favorite book is called Winning with People by John Maxwell. I really enjoy this book. John Maxwell is known mostly for all of his leadership books and his leadership seminars. He's written many leadership books. This is my favorite one, mostly because he takes all of his books and kind of slams them into one major book, basically. One major encyclopedia of every information and all the information he can give you on leadership, and kind of focuses it back to the real principle he wants to get. Because if you read a lot of his other books, it's kind of like 1, 2, 3, do these things and you'll be the best leader in the world. And I think he, after writing all those books, he kind of sat down and went, what's the message I want to communicate, and wrote this book. And so when you read this book, it's an approach on leadership that helps you see what you need to do as a leader, but also the main heart and focus of a leader. The two favorite principles I have in the book is, number one, he starts off with the mirror principle, which says, before looking to get something out of someone else, look at yourself first. Instead of fixing the problem outside of you, fix you first. And then the second thing he talks about is the hammer principle, which when most people think of leadership, they think of the guy on top of the stage just kind of bringing the hammer from the top down to make people do what they want them to do. But he kind of brings it to a different level and saying, don't swat a fly with a hammer. And kind of brings it back to realizing that there's an appropriate time to use a hammer, but use the right amount of weight with that hammer rather than just bringing everything you have. And so he kind of gives you all these different principles. There's 20 principles in the book. But it all comes back to focus on one main theme throughout the book, and that's seeking out others to understand them rather than being understood yourself. And so every time he writes a principle, it kind of comes back to that idea of seeking to understand rather than be understood. In the idea that you don't walk in and be a leader, but leadership is actually a bigger relationship that takes time to develop. And I think if more leaders took that standpoint, then most people that were under them would enjoy following them, which is the whole idea of leadership, is to be someone that's liked by your people at the same time as listened to by your people.